Hey guys, for this video we are going to install this VEVOR 13,000 pound winch on my Jeep Gladiator. So I want to go through all the parts and pieces. VEVOR was nice enough to send me this for free so I can make this video showing it to you. Show you how to install this guy and see what we think of it. Now, first, you do get everything you need. You don't see the fair lead in the screen right here because I already bolted onto the truck, but you will see that in 1 second when we get outside. So you have the winch itself, obviously. All of our wiring is going to connect here, and there's another stud underneath. You can see it has the nylon style rope as opposed to a steel cable, which is an upgrade. You would prefer this style over the cable. This here is to engage and disengage the clutch. So when it's disengaged, you can just pull on the end, pull it out to wherever you need, and then re-engage when you actually want to use the power of the winch to pull something back in. One thing that's really cool is we have both wired and wireless options with the remote here. You can see the little button, and there's lights for wired and lights for wireless, and then just the simple left, right for in and out. And it does come with the battery to power the remote when you're using the wireless function. Otherwise, it just plugs into the bottom here, and you'll also get this little transmitter guy that plugs into the side of the control box when you are using it wirelessly. Otherwise, we have this nice long cable when we want to go with the wired operation. And then we have all the wires we're going to need, some big fat cables because this is a big strong winch, and the instructions do show how to wire it all up, but we're going to do that also here. You do get all your mounting hardware. We have some additional ground cable over here, and of course you get your hook to go with it. And then the instruction manual, obviously. So 13,000 pounds, we have 85 feet of rope. We just need to get this outside, bolt it up, wire it up, and give it a test. First thing we need to do is bolt the winch to our bumper. Now with our hardware, you'll see you have 4 bolts like this with square nuts on them, and those square nuts slide into these channels right here, and then you'll bring your bolts up from underneath to bolt all 4 corners down. So that guy's just going to slide in just like so. Now from underneath you can see those bolts. We'll just have to move our nut over a little bit to get it all lined up. The bolts are 16 millimeter, so we just want to get all those started and tighten them up. And just like that, we got our 4 bolts tight. By the way, if I forgot to mention it earlier, there's the fair lead that comes with this winch. And that's what we look like initially bolted on. Now it's time for the fun part, or one of them, which is mounting the control box, because we got to find where we are going to mount it. In theory, you're going to need access to this port. You could leave your cable plugged in all the time, or the transmitter for the wireless portion all the time, but ideally you would unplug those and cap it when not using it. You have 23 inches of cable for the cables that go from the control box to the winch, and you can see they're all color coded, yellow to yellow, black to black, red to red. That's easy, but where do we want to put it? And for this, every vehicle is going to be different. Here I have my 23 Jeep Gladiator, and you can see the engine compartment is pretty stuffed. If you had gaps in the engine compartment, that would be a perfect spot. Also, you want to stay close to the battery because eventually that's where we're going to be getting our power. Now for my mounting purposes, I have an open cavity behind this portion of the bumper of this fishbone off-road bumper. So what I'm going to do is straighten out the bracket. I took it off with 4 screws that were on the back of there, so it's not so much of an angle, more of a 90. I decided, I took out the bolt for the winch that goes right there, and I found this bracket in my garage. And that hopefully will bring us over so the control box is almost even between the two bolts. And then we're inside this big cavity, because otherwise we're hitting the fog lights housing on either side. Let's bolt that in and see if that'll work. Alright, well, that's not the worst thing I've ever done. It'll be okay. We're bypassing the housing up there. We're tucked up enough that that thing's not in danger, but we're close enough that all the wires should reach. Now we're going to throw on this wire loom, protect it a little bit, maybe dress it up a little. Now back up top, we can start wiring it up. We're going to run our cables up through that little gap there. Yellow to yellow, black to black, red to red, and then you also have the small black wire. Gonna go right there. Have the winch all wired up to the control box. Again, yellow to yellow, black to black, red to red. Now we need to wire the control box up to the battery. Now remember, there's the stud at the bottom under here that gets your small black wire coming from the control box down to that bottom stud. And then also our negative that goes up to the battery is going to connect to that same stud. So we're going to have to figure out a way to route it up to the battery. Hopefully we have enough cable. I did remove the air box so that we have more room and can hopefully do this in a somewhat neat fashion. Ground wire is all run. You can see we have it ready to be hooked up there. Ran it through the inside of the battery box with the bracket for it there. Running down through there. We can catch it in the wheel well. This wire loom here, and I was basically just following this other wiring harness. So we go up through there. Then underneath, we have a little bit extra, but really that's not a whole lot. And then up through the bumper, coming out up here, and getting bolted down there. Now one thing I've learned, now that I'm doing this, put that on first before you bolt down the winch itself, because that's pretty difficult to get into, and you might be able to make your life a little bit easier if you connect that wire first, or at least before you tighten this thing down. Maybe just get the bolts started and leave them loose until later. But we got to do the power cord. Now we got the power wire routed basically the same way, coming around the box down through there. We'll do some zip tying here at some point to kind of hold things together, but I'm going to go with the cordless remote option, so I need to plug in that transmitter. Box is plugged in. I think we're ready to hook up the battery and see what happens. Fingers crossed, no sparky. We're getting close. Electrical, it's all hooked up. Got the battery and the remote. Put a little hook on the end. Get that guy on. Now let's disengage the clutch. Give this guy a pull. Re-engage. And it's time for our maiden voyage. Let's get everything tidied back up. Getting a little late. Tomorrow we can hook up to a tree or something and pull the Jeep a little bit, see how it goes. All right, let's give it a try, see what happens. We're cruising. right, I think we're pulled out. There it is, guys. The VEVOR 13,000 pound winch. Thanks for watching.